And welcome back everyone. Today a small video about the ongoing Sinquefield Cup in St. Louis, which was a really fascinating game played between Alireza Firouzja and with the black pieces Levon Aronian. And the interesting thing about this game is that actually Firouzja played one big novelty which I sort of discovered 4 or 5 years ago, and Harikrishna Pentala, who I was working for then as a second, played it for the first time already against Magnus Carlsen in 2022, and now finally the line is actually reaching like the really highest level of classical chess, even because Hari played it back then in a rapid game. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about this really fascinating opening idea, and it's still a super rare approach to the French with white. So, as I've mentioned earlier, it was Alireza who played with the white pieces against Levon Aronian, but let's have a look at which line I'm actually talking about. So it's in the French in knight c3, now knight f6, e5, knight d7, knight d2, c5, c3. And now after knight c6, this move knight f3, which gained a lot of popularity since Harikrishna also made a course for this, for the white pieces on Chessable. And black has many different moves, as you can see here. These are all the moves which I've analyzed. Maybe you cannot see it here, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 moves here for black in my file. And there are numerous ways for black to approach the position. For example, a5 is quite interesting, trying to gain space on the queen side. Also queen b6 is possible, but Aronian went for sort of the established main move, which is bishop e7. Now Firouzja played a3, which is also, according to my notes, sort of the most critical move. Short castle, and now knight f4. There is sort of one drawing line here after the main move queen a5, which was also played by Aronian. And the move bishop e3 now sort of immediately can force a draw, because black doesn't really have anything better than to enter this long line. And after queen c7, now bishop d3, black sort of has to take on e5, and then we get this type of ending to the game, and in the very end there's going to be a perpetual like this. So white has this this option already, but of course we want to play for a win here with the white pieces. I think that Harikrishna gave in his course, maybe it was the move rook a2 here, which is also quite interesting, because in some lines then the rook is not hanging on a1 after we go b4, and it can also be useful on the second rank if I remember correctly. For example, knight takes d4 is generally what black would like to do. Now knight takes d4, c takes d4, now b4 was in my file. And actually now that I'm realizing, I think the idea is that now after queen c7, c takes d4, we have this idea. This is actually one of the key concepts of playing rook a2 earlier. But now let's get to the idea which Firouzja also played in the game, which is the move b4. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, I think I first discovered this in 2020, 2021, something like that. And Harikrishna was the first one to play it. Let me show you the online database right here. So as you can see by year, Hari had the first game against Magnus, which eventually he lost later on, but it was the first one to sort of introduce the line. And the insane thing about the move before, of course, is that we are now sacrificing not only one pawn, but later on 2 pawns as well. And honestly, I don't really remember how I found this idea, because the computer was at first, and nowadays it sort of has changed because computers have gotten stronger and stronger. But at first it was showing like minus 0.8, which of course is not really a successful opening outcome for white especially. But then I continued looking at the position, and this was sort of my idea, to just play bishop d3, and after b takes c3, then, well, black's play on the queen side has sort of slowed down, and all of a sudden we might be thinking about some ideas to play on the king side. And it's really interesting that now, let me open the database again, that already many strong players have played that. Anton Demchenko has had a couple of games already against Bluebom, as you can see. Not so successful, most of them, but I hope that was not because of the opening line specifically. So that's the main idea here, and Firouzja actually played queen c2 here, which was not, I will tell you a small secret, which was not actually my intended preparation. Hari had it in the first game, but he actually mixed up what I've analyzed, because I wanted to go for short castle because I thought it's kind of more flexible, because in many variations keeping the queen on d1 can actually have the benefit of getting queen g4 or queen h5 trying to attack there. So I thought keeping the queen on d1 is still a little bit more flexible. But of course we need to do something here, otherwise black might play c2, and then we would have to exchange queens, which generally we don't want here. After queen c2, let me actually see how Magnus played. Magnus played the move h6, and then I remember he sacrificed on d4, so these motives are there quite often. I think this is how Magnus played. Gave back the piece, but now he has already 4 pawns for it and soon took over the initiative. So after h6, then white should probably castle here immediately and go for those positions. Actually, the best move after queen c2 is f5. This was also sort of the problem why I didn't want to go for this, because it tends to get sort of forcing. I'm also curious why Aronian didn't go for that, but sort of went for a different solution, even though considering that he did prepare this line. Because f5 always seemed to me like it's kind of solving the line for black. I haven't checked this in a while, but this is the line which I was looking at, and I think that there was no way for white to avoid the trade of queens, and then, okay, some very strange line which I've had here, but in the end, it was at least objectively fine for black, who has collected already 2 pawns, if I'm counting correctly. But yeah, I guess there are maybe also other ideas in between, but I'm really curious what the players have had in mind there. Aronian played b6 here, and after bishop takes h7 check, king h8, short castle, now bishop a6. And I've also watched a post-game interview when, at least by Firouzja, who said that he only discovered this b6 move earlier, like 10 minutes before the game, because the computer wasn't showing it at first. But then he sort of saw that it went down to equality here, and after rook fc8, this is what Aronian played. They settled for this draw right here with queen g4, and then there was sort of a perpetual check. So very, very complicated, of course. I also enjoyed watching the analysis there of Peter Svidler, Nazi Pakidze, and of course Yasser Seiravan, who, as usual, are highly entertaining, not only when it comes to showing some incredible variations on the board, but also just their personalities. Definitely check out the stream there. It's really a fantastic commentary team, in my opinion. So this is how the game went, and I guess that now the line is basically solved, and maybe less people are going to play it. But I still believe that there are some ideas to be discovered in the line. Especially maybe starting with short castle, which was actually my main move, could be something of interest. Let me actually see. I also checked b6 here. Again, in this position, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 moves in my file. One idea which I would like to show you is this move knight b4, which generally, of course, would make a lot of sense, trying to exchange the important bishop on d3. Which would already be a very common mistake because of exactly this idea. I had quite a lot of fun here. Let me just briefly show you through my analysis with knight g5. And already there were some ideas working like this here after queen g4, and apparently white was winning in the very end. I haven't looked at any of those lines in quite a long time, so also for me it's very, very entertaining to see this. g6, knight h5 was one of my analysis, knight f6, and now rook g8, apparently one move that might still be holding for black. At the very end, the line does have a plus minus, so I guess it should be bad. But okay, this is like some intense computer analysis, which I did back then for some reason, and at the very end, it seemed like white was pretty good here. So knight b4 is just kind of an idea which should not be played with black in general. I've also had b6 here, and now it does seem like after queen c2, bishop a6, we do just transpose to the Aronian game. So I guess that b6 would also here perhaps solve some issues. I still had queen e2 as an alternative, but now maybe rook b8, at least this has an exclamation mark in my file. But I can definitely still imagine that there are some ideas for white to be tried here as well. At least I would hope so, because I really think that the line is just really cool. And that's also sort of the main reason why I wanted to make this video, to tell you guys about this idea with b4, and maybe some of you might want to use it in your own games. So thank you for watching this video. It was sort of a smaller one, and also not as well prepared as usual. I was just sort of freestyling with some of my analysis, and just wanted to tell you sort of this story of how this line was discovered. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon. Take care.